Volodymyr Zelensky has said that Ukraine is willing to discuss adopting neutral status as part of a peace deal. In an interview with independent Russian journalists, the Ukrainian president said a referendum would be needed and that it would have to be guaranteed by third parties. The state media regulator in Moscow has warned Russian media they must not publish the interview. Andrii Osadchuk is a Ukrainian MP for the Voice Party. We won't say where he is in Ukraine for security reasons. Good morning to you, Andrii.
Good morning.
How do you feel about this idea of Ukraine adopting a neutral status?
First of all, I want to remind everyone that on February 24, de facto, Ukraine was neutral, and de jure, in fact. And now we all know the price of the status. From another hand, I understand the logic of Ukrainian president to conduct negotiations because in each circumstances, negotiations are good. At the moment, I don't think that there is any chances to reach any deal with Russia for one simple reason that Vladimir Putin didn't reach any of his strategical objectives in Ukraine. In fact, he lost the war in Ukraine already because it's understood that unbeatable Russian army is very much beatable. So they stuck in Ukraine, they cannot move on the ground. But it doesn't mean that Putin will step back. He will use all his capabilities and all his forces to receive his objections. And now we see what we forecasted, by the way, discussing this in your channel. He started using more cruise missiles and attacks from the sky to destroy and to demolish Ukrainian cities and villages. It will continue, and it will be an argument of Putin in negotiations, which definitely not accepted for us.
So Andrii, what then is the value of discussing this neutrality if, as you say, on the 24th of February, Ukraine was neutral? Or is it just important for Volodymyr Zelensky to appear to offer something?
The paramount majority of demands of Vladimir Putin to Ukraine, which he publicly pronounced several times, is absolutely ridiculous and paranoid. We cannot discuss this because they have nothing to do with reality. About neutral status, I think that's the format of diplomacy of Ukrainian leadership. At least we may try to find something around this topic, because that's probably the only topic which can be discussed. Thus, Ukrainian president is putting this issue in front of Ukrainian public agenda.
Let me ask you what Brigadier General Kirilo Budanov has said. He thinks that because President Putin has failed in his objectives in Ukraine, that he's going to seek to divide the country. And so the areas that they've had some success in, perhaps in the east, would be partitioned off from the rest of the country. Do you think that's, I mean, that might be in his mind, but he's very far off achieving that, isn't he? I mean, how would he?
Vladimir Putin is very far of achieving any of his objections against Ukraine. He is very close to reach other objections to destroy Russian Empire, which is good. Yes, it was and it is the plan of Russians, or to take all Ukraine or to divide Ukraine into parts. So that's why they will fight, as I said, using all their capabilities to reach these objections. Yes, they will try to keep the south. Yes, they will try to take at least one of the big cities in the east or in the north, meaning that this hot stage of the war will continue and will continue months and months. And there is direct correlation between duration of this war and number of losses and support from Ukraine, to Ukraine, sorry. Because any of almost 600 tanks which were already burned was burned mostly using Western weapons. And we are very much thank you for United Kingdom, by the way, for NLAWs. It's a great equipment, but we need more and more. And now the question that we need not only defensive equipment, we need attacking equipment, because we will fight back our lands. We will not leave any of our lands to Vladimir Putin.
And finally, Andrii, what do you know about Roman Abramovich's part in being a go-between between Volodymyr Zelensky and Vladimir Putin?
I know not much. It's understood for me that Mr. Abramovich, for many years, from one side was the wallet of Vladimir Putin.
Mm.
From another side, he was a middler between Vladimir Putin and different political and business circles in United Kingdom and in the West. And he's smart enough to try to save his ass and his fortune. So that's why now he tried to play some kind of humanitarian role. But I think we all realistic and we all understand that Abramovich wants to save his money, and that's the only his objection. I don't think that his role has any material impact on ongoing dialogue between Ukraine and the West. We would like to speak not with Russian oligarchs. We would like to speak with Western leaders who shall be brave enough because they're at war.
And just finally, tell me about what's happening in Kiev. I know you were recently there. What is the situation there? How is morale? And have those early morning attacks on apartment buildings, have they stopped now?
The attacks are continuing, so it is daily routine for Kiev. Kiev was able to adapt to this new reality, which is a reality for us. For the last week, we see a lot of developments, positive developments for social living inside of the Kiev. Based on official reports, something like 650 grocery shops are open, more than 300 coffee shops are open. So city is living quite normal life, despite that Kiev is a citadel, very well protected with a large amount of Ukrainian army inside. But still, it's more than 1.6 million people inside of the city.
Right.
The important thing that it is impossible for Russians to take Kiev. They know that. So that's why the only threat for us is continuing shelling and the missiles attack. And we need protection from that. And that's our fundamental demand to the West.
Andrii, thank you very much for your time. That's Andrii Osadchuk. He's a Ukrainian MP for the Voice Party.